Today I want to talk about wind and why it's so important to deer hunting. Now, wind direction is always something that should be thought of when deer hunting, when you're accessing your tree stands and while you're hunting from your tree stands or ground blinds or whatever. When it comes to deer hunting, you always want the wind to be coming from where the deer are coming and not blowing where you think they're coming to. It doesn't always have to be exactly perfect. Sometimes you can get some type of crosswind or a marginal wind, I like to call it. That can also work for you. But when it comes to wind, you absolutely don't want to be sitting somewhere where your wind's blowing exactly where you think the deer are coming from. Now what this means is usually when you're hunting an afternoon set, deer are bedded and they're going to be coming out to wherever they're feeding, and you're probably either hunting over a feeding area or somewhere in between where you think they're bedding and where they're feeding. So essentially, you don't want to be sitting somewhere where your wind is blowing right where they're bedded. In a morning sit, deer are probably coming from their feeding area to their bed. So however you're set up, you don't want your wind to be blowing exactly where you think they're coming from. You want some type of wind blowing away from where they're coming from. That way they don't detect you, because when a deer gets your wind, they're most likely always going to blow at you, they're going to bust you, they're going to run, they're going to get scared. Something of that nature usually doesn't help. Now, a couple things that can help you when thinking about wind as well is in the morning, usually the thermals are rising, meaning that if you have some type of marginal wind, you might be able to get away with a little more because your wind's usually going up. Now in the evenings, this is usually opposite, and the thermals are pulling your wind down, meaning you can't get away with as much. A lot of people use, some type of powder to blow to test the wind direction, and that's great, but something that I really like to use is milkweed. Milkweed just has this little, almost like feather-like material that you can drop, and you can see exactly where the wind's blowing. And the nice thing about milkweed is it's able to show you how the thermals are moving, and you can watch the milkweed off in the distance and see whether your thermals are rising or they're falling or exactly how they're moving through the terrain. At the end of the day, wind direction is very important when it comes to deer hunting, and it's something that you should always be thinking about.